Hey everyone, this is Kai from WCC, and today we're going to look at two different decks from two different clans in the Heroic Evolution. First, we're going to take a look at the End deck from the Overlord clan, and then we're going to look at a normal Blade Master deck from the Kagero clan. Now, with the End, we're going to start with this because this is the more smorky deck, very fast to play, very fast to talk about, very straightforward deck. Now, go through the deck first and then talk about how you should play it. Now, with trigger lineup, you have to actually run 8 crit, 4 heal, 4 draw, or you can even try going 12 crit. I don't recommend it. You're playing in the age of Bermuda where everything hits high with crit, so you kind of still need these 4 draw nulls to get you the pieces that you need, as well as just stopping those columns from absolutely killing you. So keep the draws, don't go full YOLO, just go nearly all YOLO. And then you've got your core grade 1s here, Ermo and Dragonute. And then the cards that are a bit weird is Calamity Tower Wyvern. You want this to pump the end up. And then you've got your Dragonic Gaius. Now, I always try, when I'm building a Kagero or an Overlord deck, I try to just think, man, how do I put in a Gaius in the deck? And I've managed to put 2 in. Why do you need to run 2? Because you use a lot of soul from everything else. This card gets you a soul, and it gets you a crit. Good stuff. Grade 2s, you have 4 Berserk Dragons, because you still at least want some draw, because drawing will let you play more cards, and then let you beat down your opponent. Then you've got your Decade for the End to combo with the End. Finisher combo. Opponent has to drop at least 6 cards to garner that or more. Very nice. And then your full armored boss, you're running 4 of them. Pretty crazy. Why are you running so much? How do you get the soul to support this? You don't. You don't have enough soul to play this repeatedly. You're basically playing it once. Hope you hit one of your overlords, and that's that. You want to use it to secure the End. If you've already secured it, then you don't need it. That's it. Grade 3s, you've got your original Overlord and the End. Now, why are you running the OG Overlord? Because you don't want to pay $70 for the grade. But to be honest, this card actually does do good pressure early game and serves as a strong rearguard slot. So fits 2 roles. It's very good. But with this deck, you're rushing your opponent. So riding an Overlord, if you really have to, still is good. And then you've got your key card at the End. It can withstand once, it can withstand twice. Very nice. You just combo with this and win. All right, so how do you play this deck? Well, I don't know. The deck seems pretty straightforward, right? Rush your opponent, restand with the End a couple of times, combo it with this, and a Calamity Tower Wyvern hits big numbers. Bam, they're dead. If they're not dead, then you're dead because you only have like 4 cards in your hand or 5, and yeah, it's GG, right? More seriously though, yeah, it's not much to say. You can go Force 2 or Force 1 if you've pushed very strong early game and you don't need the crit, then you just go Force 1. But if they're at 3 when you ride your first grade 3, then going Force 2 is actually fine because you do have the cards that can help you support the power, the lower power level of a Force 2 deck with Calamity Tower. So it's possible to go Force 2 and not feel bad. Make sure you have the pieces though. If you look at your hand, you don't have the pieces that you want, you don't have a Decade or a Calamity Tower, then it's better off not going Force 2 and just do a normal Force 1 play. So that's about it for the deck. Not much to discuss. Let's go to the Blade Master build. Now, with the Blade Master build, I actually do like the Blade Master build a bit more. Simply because it's a bit more stable and more fun to play in that it's not just a YOLO all-in deck. You actually get to play the game a bit, and it actually does have some pretty good matchups against the entirety of what is released because simply, you get to retire a lot of stuff. So this is pretty much the build. Put back in 2 draws because I do like 6/6 with this deck. And let's go through the deck again. So 6/6, just said that. You have your core again. The big difference is you run Garen and Doha, because that's the combo you need for Blade Master, but also they put on a very strong early game push, as well as later game they can serve as your field wipe, as well as extra annoying bash. With you have to run Neo Flames because of you're running the Great. You still have Berserk Dragon because it's a great card. The interesting card you have here is Mukhtar. Now, I'm only running one of this, but it's quite possible you can run more of it if you find the space. Why do you want to run Mukhtar? It's like a Counterblast 2 and Soul Blast 1 in a Kagero deck that kind of has a full field retire. So why this card? Because sometimes you just don't get to use this card. You don't get to, you don't have the grade 3 in your hand, so you can't get that on-demand retire. Against the Bermuda, if they rush you with a bunch of Melody units, that sometimes happens because this does require you to Soul Blast a grade 3. One Berserk is a Counterblast 1 and Soul Blast 1. This one, you get the advantage by only needing to Soul Blast 1, but getting 2 Counterblast, using 2 Counterblast instead. So it's an act, so you can keep on using it. So overall, it's okay. You actually don't use that much Counterblast with this deck. Use it for Doha, Garen if you hit, great, and a Berserk Dragon. That's about it. It's a very Counterblast efficient deck, so when you hit those times when you need a Counterblast 2, it happens. And then when you play against those Bermuda matchups where they're mostly going into Force 2, getting those 2 damage at once happens quite often. So Mukhtar, very nice. Some people can play more just to see it more and then get those early retires to kind of stop aggressive plays from Bermuda. And then with grade 3s, you've got your Blade Master and the Great. So I actually do like Great and Blade Master, although they don't seem to do that much on the first ride. They complement each other very well. With Blade Master, your first ride, you will still likely get like a 5k power and a crits because your opponent doesn't really want to push against a Kagero that early. With the Great, you can always get back a Neo Flame, but when you think of force placement for these 2 grade 3s, you usually always want to put 1 force on the Vanguard and 1 force on a rearguard circle. So your Neo Flames get a buff, and then your Vanguard gets a buff as well. And then with the Blade Master one, your Vanguard, you want to push that crit with the Vanguard, and then you want to have your Vision Token also hitting a decent number too, because if you trigger a crit, if you remember Blade Master, and then you put on the Vision Token, this Vision Token becomes a pretty lethal card that has a chance to trigger crit or another trigger they can put on your Doha, and then your Doha, your opponent is forced to guard that with a pretty high amount of guard as well, because this does have that 2 card restrict, and then it's boosted by something with an on-hit effect. So these 2 cards I really like. It works very well to complement each other. Interesting thing with the Garen, when you push early with it, you might randomly just soul charge a grade 3 and bam, your Blade Master is active on your first ride. So very nice. The Doha Garen combo really gives Kagero a really nice early game push. A lot of people don't want to place any cards early in fear of a Berserk Dragon getting the retire plus draw. They don't want that to happen. So their field is usually empty in the early game, and that just means it's free for Doha and Garen to be called out. It gets a power, it gets the guard restrict set up, and then your opponent just doesn't want to guard that column. So if they've dealt slightly more damage early, if they've triggered a crit, then you have a chance to also trigger a draw and a soul charge as well. So these 2 cards from Heroic Evolution is probably one of the best cards that Kagero has gotten. The matchups for this deck in general, don't play Bermuda. If you play Bermuda, just make sure you go first. Against every deck in Standard, make sure you go first. Learn how to go first, but don't do dodgy things to go first. So that's about it for the matchups. If you're against, like your worst matchup is obviously Bermuda. They have Force 2. Just make sure to retire their field consecutively. Make sure they don't draw 2 leads a lot somehow. not much to say. Against everything else, it's fine. If you play against Link Joker, you have to be careful that they don't bind your Neoflame and then just screw you forever. But apart from that, this deck should do pretty well. It's pretty hard to deal with a Mass Field Retire and then being forced to guard a crit. You can push early if you draw the pieces that you want, like the Garen and the Doha. If you don't push early, you can play a slower game and then finish with the Great. I've actually had the pleasure of nearly decking out of this deck, so you might want to change one of these draws into a crit. But apart from that, that's about it. So hope you guys like this video. If you like it, like and subscribe. We have singles at wcctcg.com. And let me know your thoughts in the comments below, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.